If you've driven by the site of Downtown Chesterfield recently, you've probably noticed that it looks very differently than it did a year ago. All the buildings except for Macy's and Dillard's are gone. Most of the asphalt has been torn up, and work is happening here every day, even if it doesn't look like much has changed from one week to the next. So in this video, I want to walk you through what has already happened, what's happening right now, and how soon you can expect to see progress at Downtown Chesterfield, the streets, the park in the middle, and of course, the buildings that will eventually be there. My name is Jacob Peistrup. I'm an independent real estate professional, and I'm collaborating with the Staenberg group on a video series to share updates about Downtown Chesterfield so you know what to expect. Let's get started. Now, here's a quick recap. The work to transform the 117-acre downtown Chesterfield site started in 2018 when the Staenberg group started assembling parcels of Chesterfield Mall. And by late 2022, they owned most of the future site of downtown Chesterfield. And around the same time, the city of Chesterfield approved the Chesterfield Regional TIF, which is a public financing tool initiated by the city that helps fund public infrastructure improvements as part of this redevelopment. And then rezoning approvals soon followed. The mall was rezoned in 2023 and Dillard's in 2024. Now, once permits were approved, demolition of Chesterfield Mall began on October 15th, 2024. The site development concept plan for downtown Chesterfield was approved in December 2024, a few months after demolition began. The site development concept plan is the framework that guides how downtown Chesterfield will take shape and what it will look like. Demolition of the mall finished in August 2025, about 10 months after it started. Now, once demolition was complete, the Staenberg group got a mass grading permit to reshape the land. From August 2025 through December 2025, the crew graded within the footprint of the mall, they compacted soil, and created a stable foundation for future buildings. And then they started grading beyond the footprint of the mall. Asphalt from the parking lot was torn up, crushed, processed, and then it was kept on site for future reuse. Now, in January 2026, crews began finalizing the elevation of the site, bringing in topsoil, and physically outlining the shape of the park. Now, grading will continue through the spring of 2026, followed by utility installations for water, sewer, gas, electricity, and internet. And at the same time, road construction will begin. Now, the estimated completion for the grading and the infrastructure process is 2027, and that is the soonest we may see vertical construction begin. Now, I want to talk about why the demolition process takes so long on a project of this scale. Before demolition, a team did a full walkthrough and analysis inside Chesterfield Mall to figure out what materials could be removed and recycled. So things like electrical equipment were removed, and then the multi-phase demolition process began. The crew started by removing the exterior facade and the brick walls, recycling the brick and the concrete as they started to work their way in towards the core of the building. Now, all the brick, metal, and concrete needed to be separated for processing, and over 23 million pounds of metal alone were reclaimed and recycled. After they made it to the core of the building, they then worked west to east throughout the project and intentionally left AMC and Cheesecake Factory in place until the end of demolition. Now, this side of the mall served as a barrier that kept debris from being blown off-site, and so they left this part of the structure standing as long as possible. And then once they tore it all down and all the vertical structures were removed, the crews took out the footings, the foundations, and the concrete slabs, which were then sorted and processed on site. And engineers did testing as needed to make sure that these materials met all the standards for reuse. Now, what exactly happened after these buildings came down and after the concrete was torn up? You might remember that the mall had a lower level food court, and in some areas, the former basement extended nearly 18 feet below ground level. This needed a lot of backfill as part of the grading process, and that is where the processed asphalt and concrete comes into play from the demolition process. All of that processed material was intentionally kept on site and was reused to fill in these areas. And so having all that backfill material ready to go on site avoided waste, and it also sped up the process and allowed crews to start grading sooner. Once grading started, an engineering firm performed daily soil testing as part of the site preparation process. The testing is to make sure that the land can accommodate a variety of future buildings that might get built here. Right now, the future 3.31 acre Central Park is taking shape, which I think is one of the most exciting milestones we've reached. About 9,000 cubic yards of topsoil have been added to the park area, and this soil was actually brought in from just down the hill where the villas at Downtown Chesterfield are being built. So again, really important here. There was a lot of thought put into recycling and reusing as much material that's already on the site as possible. Now that topsoil will continue to settle on site through spring 2027. So that's when crews will begin installing grass and other hardscape elements. Now you might be wondering, what's next? Throughout 2026, the major focus on site will be utility installation. That includes water, sewer, gas, and telecom infrastructure, beginning on the eastern side of the site and then moving west and north. Now, the sequencing of events here is critical because utilities must be placed in the correct order, at the correct depth, and in precise locations based on where future buildings, streets, sidewalks, and crossings will be. Now, to put the scale of this project into perspective, about 7.5 miles of conduit will be installed on site. Once utilities are taken care of, the focus will shift to the streets and the sidewalks, starting in late 2026 and continuing into early 2027. One practical note here is that concrete can't be poured in cold weather because freezing temperatures interfere with curing. So that seasonal reality of St. Louis weather plays a role here, and it is factored into the overall timeline. So there will be a pause on concrete work during the winter. A lot of what's happening at Downtown Chesterfield right now is the stuff you can't always see. It's grading, soil testing, and utility installation. So while it might not be the most exciting stuff to watch or hear about, it is absolutely necessary that everything happening right now is done correctly so that future developers don't have to dig everything up again and redo it when it's time to start vertical construction in 2027. This kind of construction progress doesn't always look flashy, but it's steady, intentional, and it is moving forward every single day. And as this next phase continues, you'll start to notice more visible changes on the site whenever you drive by. If you want to get more updates on Downtown Chesterfield, make sure to subscribe to the newsletter, check the description down below, or head to the top of the comment section for the link. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback for us, please make sure to leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching, and we'll continue to share updates as Downtown Chesterfield moves forward. Take care. I'll see you next time.